I got a Daisy feeling. I got a Daisy feeling. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Jabby Kawai, joined by Achara Kirk.
What's up?
This is our non-spoiler review discussion of Oppenheimer. With respect to the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strike, I just want to say that this is not a promotion of Oppenheimer. This is simply our review of the film. No money has exchanged hands between us and Universal for the purposes of making this video. This is simply our opinions of the film, which we just got to watch in IMAX. I loved this film. It was 3 hours long, and it was a very, very compelling movie. I recommend it for lots of people. It's a very specific choice of words I just made, and you'll find out why if you continue watching. Achara, how did you feel?
I enjoyed the movie. I definitely did feel the runtime, but it was very interesting, very beautiful. The thought that I had as I was watching it was, this is cinema.
Yeah, it's definitely cinema.
It's cinema, and it deserves to be seen on the big screen.
I don't think that this movie's for everybody. That's the feeling that concerned me, because even, as I was asked by our audience, is like, what do you think of Oppenheimer? How's it going to turn out? I expressed concern because, we tried to get tickets and it was booked out. Thankfully, we were able to get a screening, which made me quite happy. And not only that, we got to sit dead center at a proper IMAX theater where they actually play things in like the proper IMAX format and all that stuff. So I got to experience the film as it was intended by Nolan. So one of the things I had brought up that concerned me was that, in looking at the trailer, the presentation in the trailer, the marketing is brilliant, and it's coming out midsummer, okay? So this comes across to your average moviegoer as a summer blockbuster movie. And I knew, just looking at the trailer and understanding what the story's about, I'm like, this is not a summer blockbuster movie. This is a drama, and it's a 3-hour drama that I don't know if people realize that they're in for. It's sold out.
Definitely explosions.
Yes, definitely explosions in the movie. As far as I could tell, looking around, it seemed like the audience was fully engaged for the entire 3 hours, and that's in large part thanks to Nolan's snappy way of telling his stories.
Yeah.
He does things in fast cuts, and he keeps things moving, and it's non-linear. It jumps between different storylines at a quick pace, and you got to pay attention, and it keeps you hooked. There's like a lot going on in this movie, and I thought it was very well told.
Credit where credit's due as well. The cast was amazing, all the way from like the lead cast. Cillian Murphy did a fantastic job portraying J. Robert Oppenheimer, and then everyone else as well. It was literally like a who's who of really great actors, and everyone had their moment, and everyone showed up and like knocked it out of the ballpark.
I think right away, one of the things that might come up is like, how does this stack against other Christopher Nolan experiences, other Christopher Nolan films? And I think it's safe to say that this is one of his, if not his very best movie. I think that might be a controversial statement to make. Once you see the film, you'll understand why. But I do think it is his best film to date.
Don't know if I would go so far as to say that. I think artistically, the storytelling, the cinematography, everything was just so interesting and aesthetically pleasing. As far as cinema goes, I would venture to say this is probably one of his better or best works, but it's not an Inception.
No, it's not.
Do you know what I mean?
No, not by a stretch.
Yeah, not by a long stretch.
But I will say that he used a very, very interesting method of keeping you engaged in this dramatic story, which is like bringing you into the mind of Oppenheimer and how he views the world, which I think was crucial for keeping the audience engaged, especially in this day and age with the, Instagram Reels generation, YouTube Shorts, TikTok, the short attention span that we have. It is bold to go out and tell this movie and compete this against Mission Impossible and Barbie. And not only that, it's a 3-hour drama. It's like, this is a really bold move. And not only that, just in terms of his filmography, I'm like, this is the thing that you're following up with next. And I think that he could only do this because of what came before.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no way he could have started with this film and got everyone to watch it. It's because the Nolan name. He took a risk using his name to facilitate telling this story. And I'm glad he did, because I think this is a very, very important story. I think that this has Oscars written all over it.
Yeah.
Speaking of Oscars. Cillian Murphy, I don't know much about how Oppenheimer should have been portrayed. I've only seen like a clip of him repeating the Indian text.
Oh, the quote from the Bhagavad Gita.
Exactly. That's the only thing I saw of his. That being said, having watched Cillian Murphy since 28 Days Later, this was definitely his best performance to date, without a shadow of a doubt. Like the way he embodied this person and made me believe that he was this guy from youth to old age. The experience that this guy was having every step of the way, it was brilliant acting.
Well, I think it's also like really great casting as well, because he is such a wonderful and versatile actor. There's something about him that even when he's not using a lot of words, and maybe it's like his eyes, like just how piercing they are, like he has very, very unique, very bright blue eyes.
He's got a unique everything.
Yeah,
up here,
unique face, everything. And he knows how to emote and do a lot while doing a little.
Yes.
And it works so well for this movie, especially with all of those like close-ups, the tight close-ups.
A lot of close-ups in this movie.
The close-ups in IMAX where you can literally see every little micro expression, every little pore. Yeah, he was really, really great.
So Emily Blunt is in this film. You see her from the trailer.
Yes.
And she plays a blunt character.
I loved her.
Yeah.
She was so good.
Yeah.
So layered as well. I mean, you're up here playing with a bunch of greats. And she's
great herself. I think.
she is great
Yeah.
as well. And like, she definitely was like, hello, this is what I can do.
This is Christopher Nolan's best female casting to date. I would say that the entire cast here was great. Like everybody felt handpicked for their roles because they were like perfect for that particular role.
Yeah, even when they had smaller roles, everyone still shone.
Yes, exactly. They had something meaty to work with. Robert Downey Jr., fantastic work. I mean, I expect no less from Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
But even from him, I was surprised at how much I appreciated his performance. Like he really it's like you could almost forget how good he is because he was doing comic book films for the last 10 years and Dr. Dolittle, right? And so like no one talks about that. But anyway, he did a fantastic job here. It's like those three, I would not be surprised if all of them took home an Oscar. All of them. They all did fantastic work.
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to mention anyone else from the cast list, but if any of you guys who worked on the film are watching, y'all did great work. Christopher Nolan was experimenting with one of my pet peeves to talk about, which is the depth of field. Now, IMAX naturally has a shallower depth of field, but there were instances for dramatic purposes where he was experimenting with a depth of field I don't even know the number to. It was like 0.1 or something, like just to emphasize an emotional state that Oppenheimer might be feeling. Like it was doing some funky stuff where it's like the front of his iris was in focus and everything else was blurred out.
Yeah.
It was beautifully shot. There were instances, due to the nature of film and you don't know exactly what you got till you shot it. There were instances where some stuff was out of focus.
Yeah, there wasn't. And there was even some stuff where I was like, oh, did you mean to expose it that way? Was that a choice or was that just like you overexposed it by accident? But I'm going to go with that's a choice. It all works in the end.
Well, that's what I like about film though, is that it's a rough around the edges kind of thing. It's almost an experiment. You don't know exactly what you're getting like you do with digital. And that's sort of the magic of it. It's a series of moving pictures, literally. And you do your best. You do the meter and you try to shoot it as well as you can and predict what the outcome will be, and you got what you got. What I have noticed since The Dark Knight Rises is that sometimes when you switch between different film formats, such as IMAX and 70mm or IMAX and 35mm, someone like me who's hyper analytical, you'll see differences in the contrast. That's a minor thing. Most people won't pick up on that.
I didn't.
It's just that I noticed that. It's like, oh, that's quite different. And there was also, I don't know if this is going to be the same for everybody. Someone had asked about it. And I'm like, I think I know why he did that. When you watch this film, it switches between formats, okay? It's gonna switch between, if you're watching it in a proper IMAX theater, it's gonna switch between the full IMAX and then it's gonna switch to widescreen format, right? And that's mainly for the dialogue, and I'll explain why if you don't know. With this particular movie, it did something different, and that is it brought down the movie. Usually when you switch between IMAX and widescreen, it's dead center. But the way IMAX theaters are seated, it's like a stadium and it's almost a little bit above you. And I thought it was actually a really genius move from Nolan to have it come down a little bit so that it's more eye level.
Oh.
Yeah, I think that's why he did that, because then you're not doing this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I wasn't doing that. I was like, oh, that's actually pretty seamless.
Yeah, I've always wanted filmmakers to do that, and my wish came true because he brought it down so that it didn't feel like I was looking up at the film. Thank you, Nolan, for doing that. That being said, I did have a weird feeling that I think most people aren't going to feel. I just want to get it out, which is I wish that either he shot more IMAX or no IMAX at all and just 70 millimeter. And the reason why is because I did notice when it was switching formats, when you're gifted with the beauty and awe of IMAX and then you jump to 70 millimeter or 35, whatever, it's like, oh, dang, I was kind of liking that other look, you know? And the reason why Nolan doesn't just stick to IMAX full time is because he shoots on film and IMAX film cameras are very loud. He switches to 70 or 35 millimeter because you can contain that sound and properly get dialogue, and he does not like ADR. He does not like to have his actors do the dialogue in post-production.
Dubbing,
He doesn't like dubbing. He wants what's on set to be in the movie. Overall, I really enjoyed what he was doing with the camera and how this film was put together.
I really enjoyed that kind of trippy editing,
Yeah.
actually. And there were things that he did that artistically portrayed the internal conflict that Oppenheimer was having. And I just loved that he decided to portray that visually rather than like, let's talk about it.
Like I said, I think this is his best film. And the way it was put together, it's just like, wow, like this is a great story. I'm so glad he had the courage to tell this particular story, and he just did it in the most Nolan way possible in order to keep you with it the entire time. I think that there's going to be copycats of the way that explosions were done in this film. For sure.
It's so different.
It's not what you think I'm talking about, by the way. There's a specific choice that was made in this film, and I think that there will be copycats of it for sure, because it was cool.
It was so science-y.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing. Another thought that I had when I was watching the movie, I was like, wow, Nolan succeeded in making science sexy.
Yes.
Physics is sexy.
Yes.
I have never had any interest in physics.
Don't be daunted by the 3-hour length. It actually, you will feel the length. Like, just like the Batman, you will feel the length.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's interesting the entire time.
Yes.
I don't recommend that you bring little kids to see this movie, though.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, this is.
Don't do that.
This is, first off, it's rated R. I think that Nolan deliberately made that choice for 2 reasons. So that he could just tell it without any limitations.
Yeah.
Like, there was some nudity in the movie, there's cussing in the film. Also, the dialogue is just very mature. It's like, there is no way a 10-year-old is gonna wrap his mind around what's going on in this film the same way that, say, a 16-year-old might. 16 to 18, I feel like you'll be all right. Much more than a 9 or 10-year-old would.
No. This is not the film.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Having finished the film, I don't know if it needed to be 3 hours long. I would have to watch it 2 or 3 more times to like know for sure.
They're covering a lot though.
It's
like a very epic saga.
The music. It's by Ludwig Göransson.
I am obsessed with Ludwig Göransson. Like, he's done some amazing scores. Black Panther, Mandalorian.
Early on, I was concerned that the sound was going to be like another Nolan movie. We can't hear stuff. Like, in the first 20 minutes, I was like,
Yeah.
And I was getting really scared that I was going to have to deal with that for 3 hours. He does a good job here with the sound design. I guess he's acquiesced a little bit so that, you know, you can hear what's happening. Thank you, Nolan, for listening to the audience. And this film is underscored by Ludwig Göransson, or not always underscored, but sometimes it's like really front and center.
Yeah.
And I think that the choices with the music and the music editing, meaning the sound design and all that stuff. The sound is wonderful in this movie. Nolan, more than most directors, I feel like, really appreciates dynamic, wonderful sound, audio mixing, all that stuff.
Yes.
I think it's really important to him, and it's great. The music is great. It perfectly like helps you with this story. There were interesting creative choices that Nolan made here to make you feel things, and I loved his choices. I think that they were very bold. They were experimental, to say the least. It was fantastic. Like, I felt so much during the moments I was supposed to feel stuff.
That's so interesting, because I think I wanted to feel more, and that's also because I'm someone who, like, I really want to feel moved. Like, I want to feel a lot of empathy towards the characters, and I am that person who's like, oh, I love a good cry. For me, I was like, I almost feel like I'm a little bit removed, and I'm watching these people, and I'm watching this story and this moment in history, and I'm not really feeling as connected as you seem to have felt, but I was thoroughly engaged and interested the entire time.
I think the reason why you might have felt that way is because Nolan had to make strong choices in terms of the editing.
Yeah,
in terms
it's probably that.
In terms of the way the story is told, normally you have a linear fashion, and so you're kind of just connected to the character through and through from start to finish. And so here it takes you back and forth. And I think that sometimes the consequence of that is you're not quite as connected to what's happening.
Yeah.
Once I realized the rhythm of the movie, I'm like, okay, I get it. And so I didn't lose sight of that, but I also was connected to the underscoring message of the movie. Nothing was said to me, but like I still felt what Nolan wanted me to feel. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it had a lot to do with his choice in sound, when to bring sound in, when to bring music in, what to focus on and what to linger on, because the movie moves so gosh darn quick, and he lingers on certain things in particular moments, and I'm like, oh freaking, is anyone else having feelings right now? I'm having feelings for some reason, and I don't know if I'm supposed to. And I was supposed to. I was confused because I'm like, for some reason I feel emotional at this particular moment. Am I supposed to? Chara's not crying.
I know. I'm the one that's like the Miss Waterworks over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am happy to watch this movie again as soon as because I have a ticket for like 3 weeks from now because that's the soonest I could get a ticket. I'm very excited to watch this film again and dissect it further. I am excited for all of you to watch it. Don't bring your kids.
Get a babysitter.
Yeah, get a babysitter.
Yeah, enjoy.
Yeah.